From poor popcorn girl to CEO's favorite, the shocking moment that changed everything at 3 a.m. It was a night like no other. The clock struck 3, echoing through the empty, dimly lit cinema. The screen flickered, casting eerie shadows over the rows of vacant seats, amplifying an unsettling silence. That's when Mia, the popcorn girl with dreams larger than the theater itself, stumbled upon a secret tucked away in the corners of that old building. It was more than just an ordinary midnight shift. As the aroma of buttery popcorn wafted through the air, a loud crash broke the stillness, sending icy fear down her spine. What she found in the back room would change everything: a shimmering envelope, glowing like a beacon of possibility. The word CEO's favorite flashed before her eyes. Was it an invitation? A trick? Mia's heart raced like the midnight train, pounding in her chest as she realized the potential behind that slip of paper. She was just a girl with a mop and a popcorn machine, but was destiny offering her a chance to escape this life? Moments later, footsteps echoed. The manager, a burly man with a permanent scowl, approached. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut. Mia's breath hitched in her throat. She couldn't let him see. What if he knew? The murmurs of doubt filled her head like a swarm of bees buzzing in unison. Suddenly, the glow of her phone lit up, a notification. Meeting at 3:15. Important. The screen faded back to black, leaving her on the edge of a decision that could shatter her normal world. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Mia's hands shook as she turned back to the envelope in her trembling fingers. Inside was an invitation to a secret meeting with the CEO of the entire cinema chain. Could this be related to her secret ambitions? Her dreams of becoming more than just the girl behind a counter flashed before her eyes. Just then, the manager's voice sliced through her thoughts. Mia. Are you coming or not? Panic surged through her veins like ice water. This was her shot. Should she risk it? It was all or nothing, but one thing was clear: if she went through that door, her life would never be the same again. Mia's heart raced as she stood frozen in place, caught between the demands of her boss and the lure of a life-changing opportunity. The word CEO's favorite still glowed in her mind, but the shadows in the backroom seemed to loom larger now, as if they were whispering warnings. Damn it, Mia. Don't make me come over there. Her manager barked, irritation seeping from every syllable. His heavy footsteps thudded closer, echoing ominously against the walls. Each sound amplified the fear clawing at her insides, urging her closer to the envelope. This was no ordinary slip of paper. It was her lifeline. In that heartbeat moment, a decision crystallized within her. She couldn't let fear dictate her fate. With one swift motion, she tucked the envelope into her uniform pocket, forcing a deep breath to calm her shaky hands. I'm coming, she shouted, her voice trembling slightly. She turned and hurried toward the theater entrance, determined to act like everything was normal. Even as adrenaline coursed through her veins, Mia stepped into the flickering light of the cinema's main hallway, the faint sounds of a movie playing in the distance. She could hear the faint laughter of late-night moviegoers, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in her heart. Her breath steadied as she rounded the corner. The manager was at the front desk, arms crossed, glaring at her. There you are. What took you so long? He demanded, eyes narrowing. Just needed to grab a snack, Mia replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. She quickly glanced at the clock mounted on the wall. Time was slipping away. She didn't have long to prepare for the meeting the CEO would be expecting her. Whatever. Just get back to work, he grumbled before turning his focus back to the film schedule. Without missing a beat, Mia hurried toward the staff room, her heart echoing like a drum in her ears. She couldn't afford a mistake. Pulling out the shimmering envelope, she scanned it once more. It contained the address of an exclusive lounge within the cinema chain's headquarters. She had heard whispered tales about it, a place where only the elite and powerful gathered. What was she supposed to say? Would she even make it past the door? Her thoughts raced, but she forced herself to center on one thing. This was what she had been waiting for. Just then, her phone buzzed violently, making her jump. It was a message from an unknown number. You have 10 minutes to get here. Don't be late. A cold shiver traveled down her spine. A sense of urgency gripped her, propelling her forward. As she exited the staff room, the reality of what lay ahead hit her like a freight train. The thought of stepping into the unknown filled her with dread and excitement. What if this meeting changed everything? What if it went terribly wrong? Mia stepped outside, the cool night air hitting her face like a splash of cold water. Every step toward the car felt like walking toward destiny. But wasn't this what she had always wanted? To be more than just the girl with a mop. Suddenly, her thoughts were interrupted by the screech of tires on asphalt. A sleek black car pulled up beside her, the engine rumbling menacingly. The tinted window rolled down slowly, revealing a figure inside. Mia, right? Get in. We don't have time. Her instincts screamed danger, but another part of her, a part that longed for freedom, urged her to take a chance. Could she trust this stranger? With a lump in her throat, she hesitated for just a heartbeat longer before plunging headfirst into the unknown. What lay ahead was a world more intoxicating and dangerous than she'd ever imagined. And the true game was only just beginning. The door clicked shut behind her as she slipped into the back seat of the car. The air inside felt thick, charged with an electric energy that made Mia's skin prickle. She glanced at the driver, a ruggedly handsome man with dark stubble and piercing blue eyes. The tension in his expression made her heart race all over again. "Let us go," he commanded curtly. Mia barely had time to process what was happening. The car pulled away with a jolt, cutting through the stillness of the night. Streetlights zoomed past, casting fleeting shadows across her face. "Who are you?" she finally stammered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Does it matter? We don't have much time." "You're in deep, and you need to listen," he shot back, glancing at her briefly through the rearview mirror before focusing back on the road ahead. Her stomach dropped. What did he mean by in deep? Images of her manager's angry face flickered in her mind, and she felt butterflies take flight in her belly. What is this all about? Just trust me. You need to get to the lounge now, and it's not safe. The urgency in his voice sent a shiver coursing through her spine. They know you've got that envelope. Suddenly, everything she had brushed aside came rushing back, the whispers of her coworkers, the tension in her boss's eyes, the sudden message. Had they been watching her all along? Her heart thumped violently as questions whirled wildly in her mind. Who knows? She pressed, conviction firming in her stance despite the fear clawing at her throat. He let out a small, humorless laugh. Let's just say powerful people don't like surprises. You have something they want. The edges of Mia's vision began to blur, and for a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm her. Powerful people? What was in that meeting that had stirred such urgency? The envelope felt heavy in her pocket suddenly, like a curse rather than a blessing. As they sped down deserted streets, the city transitioned into a blur of neon lights and sleepless energy. Mia's gaze darted toward the shrinking skyline. She inhaled sharply, and the air tasted of uncertainty and danger. Look, Mia, the driver said suddenly, his tone softening just a fraction. Whatever you expected from this job this moment, it's not what you think. You're stepping into a world where everything is a game, and you're the next piece on the board. Are you ready for that? A lump lodged in her throat, blocking her voice. She wanted to scream that she never signed up for any game, but she knew it was too late to turn back. The decision to accept the envelope had already committed her to more than she could fathom, and now she was hurtling toward an unknown destiny. With his eyes fixed on the road ahead, he added, "You need to choose your side, and fast." Before she could respond, the driver suddenly swerved, weaving through the streets with far more agility than she had expected. "What are you doing?" she gasped, her heart slamming against her ribs. "Getting off the main road. We've been followed." Mia's pulse quickened as her eyes darted to her surroundings. Shadows loomed behind them, headlights flickering ominously. The adrenaline surged through her, side by side with the creeping realization, this wasn't just about a job anymore. This was a fight for her life. "Who's behind us?" she managed, feeling dread settle in her stomach. "People who play dirty. And if they catch up." He trailed off, leaving the weight of his words hanging heavily in the air. Mia's mind raced. This was at the moment destiny stood at her doorstep, terrifying and exhilarating. "What do I do?" "Remember, it's not just about survival. You need to outsmart them," he replied as he turned sharply into an alley. The dim light of a flickering street lamp barely illuminated their escape. A thud echoed from behind, a sound that sent her instincts into overdrive. They weren't alone. With her heart pounding wildly, Mia knew she had to make a choice, and soon. As the shadows closed in, she braced herself for the confrontation ahead, uncertain of who she could trust and what line she would have to cross. Would she emerge victorious in this brutal game? All she knew was that the next moment could change everything or seal her fate forever. The driver slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching against the wet asphalt. The impact jolted Mia forward, her head nearly colliding with the glass window. Panic surged through her as she fumbled to stabilize herself, the shadows outside morphing into foreboding figures. "Stay down," he barked, glancing frantically around the narrow alley. Mia barely had time to comprehend before he pulled a sleek black handgun from beneath the seat, gripping it like a lifeline. "What are you doing? Put that away," she hissed, horrified, yet completely aware of the danger they were in. But she could see the flickering lights of another set of headlights approaching, illuminating the alley like a spotlight illuminating a stage of horrors. "Trust me. If they find you, we're both dead." His voice was taut, almost frantic, and it sent cold shivers down her spine. Mia's heart raced as the realization of their reality hammered down on her. Just moments ago, she thought her life revolved around a dull office job, but now she was tangled in something dark and threatening. Suddenly, a shout erupted from outside the car. "Get out! We know you're in there." There was no mistaking the hostility in those words. It echoed ominously, bouncing off the alley walls like a taunt. "Mia, we need a plan," he said, urgency oozing from every word. "I can't fight all of them alone. Do you see any way out?" She scanned the alley in a desperate attempt to spot an escape. The only visible option was the fire escape ladder dangling from the building nearby. "The fire escape!" she shouted. I'll cover you," he interrupted. "On 3. Get ready." Her heart thudded loudly in her chest, fear mixing with adrenaline. 1-2. Before he said the last number, he flung the door open and sprang out, gun in hand. Mia barely reacted, fear anchoring her to the seat for a split second longer than she intended. But then the instinct to survive kicked in, propelling her out of the car. She didn't hesitate, racing towards the fire escape. Gunfire erupted behind her, echoing like thunder in the narrow space of the alley. Mia's pulse raced as she climbed the rickety metal ladder, her arms straining with the effort. The taste of fear lingered bitterly on her tongue, mingling with the faint tang of rust as her fingers grasped the cold rungs. "Come on!" he shouted from below, barely above a whisper. His urgent gaze bore into her, as though his fear was palpable enough to make her climb faster. Mia scrambled onto the rooftop, her legs trembling as her body craved safety. She could see the city sprawled beneath her, every light a reminder of the world she was slipping away from. She turned just as he reached the top, the moment heavy with uncertainty. "We have to move fast," he said, his voice steadying even as his hands trembled slightly. "They won't stop chasing us." "Not now." "Who are they?" she demanded, frustration and fear mixing in her voice. The question burned in her throat, and she needed to know before she followed him deeper into this nightmare. "They're the people you're about to go up against," he said, urgency laced with an unfathomable weight in his words. "And they're not just after the envelope. They want you and they won't rest until they have you." Her stomach twisted into knots. Everything was spiraling out of control, and she could feel the ground beneath her shifting. "What does that mean?" With a deep, determined breath, he locked eyes with her. "It means we need to figure out what is so important in that envelope, and we need to do it before they find us." The wind howled around them, a chilling reminder of the storm they were caught in. With time slipping through her fingers, crashing reality descended like a curtain, leaving her with a notion that this wouldn't end easily. As the distant sound of sirens echoed through the streets below, Mia realized this felt like a point of no return. She was in a game where the stakes kept rising, and for every moment they hesitated, the danger closed in. "Let us go," she said, her voice gaining strength. "We have to find out now." With adrenaline fueling her every move, they walked along the rooftop edges, uncertainty a heavy cloak wrapping them both as they ventured into the dark unknown. And as they teetered on the brink of revelation, a shadow flickered at the corner of her eye. What awaited them next could change everything. And it felt like they were running out of time. Mia's heart dropped as the shadow lengthened and morphed into a figure, shrouded in the darkness of the rooftop. She froze. Fear clenched her throat. The figure turned, and her tension coiled tighter. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice sharp yet measured. The figure stepped into the faint glow of the city lights, revealing a young man with tousled hair and anxious eyes. "I don't want any trouble," he stammered, raising his hands in surrender. "Get out of here." Mia snapped, her instinct to protect kicking in. "No, wait." The man's plea echoed off the concrete walls. "I can help you." She exchanged a quick glance with her companion. "How do we know he is not one of them?" "Because I know about the envelope," he replied urgently, scanning the area behind him. "And I know where it is." Mia's pulse quickened. This was the exact lead they needed, yet every shred of caution held her in a vice-like grip. "What do you know?" "They're after more than just that envelope. They think it leads to something much bigger. Something dangerous." He glanced nervously toward the edge of the rooftop. "You have to trust me, but we don't have much time." "What if this is a trap?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper, every instinct racked with tension. The sirens were getting closer, the urgency of their pursuit palpable. "They know I'm here, too. You think I want to end up as a target?" He took a shaky step closer. "I'm just trying to survive, same as you." Mia hesitated, the weight of his words drumming into her mind. The world around them was spinning wildly out of control, and somehow this unknown ally felt as if he might steady the chaos. With a nod to her companion, she took a deep breath. "What's your name?" "Ethan," he replied, relief flooding his face. "And I can lead you to a safe place and show you the truth about the envelope." "What truth?" Her heart was racing harder. "The truth that can expose them. It has names, and locations. Everything." "Then we have to hurry." "In that case," Ethan said, glancing over his shoulder again, "follow me. There's a way down." Mia's gut twisted as they stepped closer together, a dangerous trio now. She couldn't shake off the doubt, but she swallowed it down. She had no choice but to leap into this unpredictable web of deceit and anger. Ethan led them to the edge of the rooftop, revealing a precarious fire escape ladder extending silently into the darkness below. "We'll go through the building. It's our safest bet. Just as Mia prepared to climb down, a loud crash erupted from below, sending vibrations through the rooftop. A figure had burst through the door at the alley entrance, yelling commands. There they are. Move. Mia's heart plummeted. The chase had escalated. She was trapped, with enemies closing in. She glanced back at Ethan, who had a determined look on his face, ready to lead them away. Let us go. Her companion barked, urgency palpable. They descended quickly, the metallic rungs rattling underneath them, adrenaline coursing like wildfire. Mia, filled with fear and hope, felt the weight of the enveloping night pressing down harder. Then, without warning, she caught a glimpse of movement beneath the escape ladder, a hulking figure shifting into view. Get down! Shouted Mia, as the unmistakable weight of danger loomed over them. They dropped to their knees, hearts pounding in chorus with the rapidly drawing threat. What now? Mia whispered, her breath hitching. The sound of heavy footsteps thundered behind them. Echoing chaos shattered the brittle tension. Ethan's eyes locked onto hers, determination igniting in their depths. We need to find the envelope. It's our only chance. With nowhere to hide, Mia knew she had to act. Time was slipping past faster than ever, and with every second, the dangerous game spiraled toward its climax, and as they readied to flee, a chilling realization struck. What if the envelope was not just a clue, but a key to something much darker? What if revealing the truth meant risking everything they held dear? The thud of boots grew louder, reverberating like a countdown in the tense air. Mia's body tensed, every fiber urging her to run, but her mind screamed for clarity. They were pinned, the darkness around them now feeling less like a refuge and more like a snare. Ethan turned to Mia, eyes wide with urgency. We can't stay here. They'll find us. Follow my lead. Mia nodded, her throat dry as dust. With hesitant movements, they crawled deeper into the shadows beneath the fire escape. Each metallic clank overhead reminded them how close they were to discovery. The figures roaming the alley shouted instructions, voices twisted with anger and desperation. They were hunting. Mia could feel their fear, a cold chill creeping down her spine. What if this was the end? What if pursuing the truth meant sacrificing their lives? But the thrum of adrenaline spurred her forward. She had to know. Ethan pressed his back against the wall, peering around the corner. There's a door at the back. If we can make it, we might. Suddenly, a flashlight beam swept across the alley, piercing through the darkness like a knife. Mia's breath hitched in her throat. The figure holding it was close, too close. Did you hear that? A voice echoed. Check there. Their hearts synchronized in dread as Mia felt the urge to bolt, clawing at her insides. Now! Ethan hissed, darting toward the door. Mia scrambled after him, adrenaline pumping through her veins as she narrowly avoided the light's path. They reached the door, and Ethan slammed his palm against the handle. Locked. Panic flickered through his expression. Shit! It's stuck. Mia pressed her palms to the door and pulled. It didn't budge. Outside, shouts grew closer. Stand back. Ethan commanded. With a forceful kick, he thrust his sneaker against the door. It groaned but didn't yield. Again. Mia urged, urgency slicing her words. With a determined grunt, he kicked again. The door screeched open, revealing a dark stairwell that spiraled down into the unknown. Go! Ethan shouted, pushing Mia inside before he followed. They tumbled forward, desperation fueling their fast pace. The footsteps grew muted behind them, but fear cut through the silence like a knife. As they raced down the stairs, Mia's mind stayed anchored to the envelope. What was this truth that could turn their world upside down? The envelope held secrets, but secrets about what? Names, locations. What kind of power was hidden within that innocuous paper? They emerged on the ground floor, breathless and disoriented. The corridor before them was long and dim, with flickering lights casting ominous shadows. Where do we go now? Mia gasped, heart hammering as she glanced back, half expecting the figures to burst through the door behind them. Ethan looked left and right, assessing their options. We need to find a way out, then get the envelope to someone who can help. But first, let us get our bearings. He turned, and in the dim light, Mia noticed a faint glimmer at the corner of her eye. A large glass case stood against the wall, filled with various artifacts. Her heart sank as she approached. There, among the dusty relics, was an untouched display of envelopes markings identical to the one they were searching for. What if she began, a mix of fear and curiosity threading through her voice? Ethan squinted at her. What? What if the truth goes deeper than we imagined? What if there's more to it? Before Ethan could respond, a loud crash echoed from behind them. The door burst open, bodies flooding into the corridor like a wave. Run! Mia screamed, instincts overriding fear. Adrenaline propelled them forward as they dashed through the corridor, the sounds of pursuit hot on their heels. All at once, Mia's thoughts crystallized. Is this truth really worth it? What if unveiling it means unleashing a catastrophe beyond our control? With every step, her heart pounded, not just from fear but from a chilling revelation. What if she had walked into a trap much larger than she had anticipated? But there was no time for hesitation. The chase intensified, and with it came the weight of futures hanging in balance. As they turned the corner, the faint sound of laughter echoed behind them, sinister and foreboding. Mia's chest tightened. The realization lingered like a shadow. Were they about to find out what the envelope truly contained, or was this just the beginning of a far darker game? Mia surged forward, instinct guiding her through the maze of dimly lit corridors. Ethan's footsteps pounded beside her, urgent and frantic. The echo of laughter behind them twisted the air, an unsettling reminder of how close their pursuers were. It was as if the shadows themselves were alive, breathing down their necks, desperate to swallow them whole. Left. Down that way. Ethan yelled, pointing toward an opening that seemed to promise freedom amid the chaos. Hope flickered to life within Mia, catching her off guard. She had almost allowed despair to seep into her bones, but a sliver of determination surged as she followed Ethan. She could feel the cool air ahead. Their escape was almost within reach. They crashed through the doorway, tumbling into a larger room, illuminated by an unsettling blue light. Mia's gaze darted around, taking in the towering shelves filled with countless boxes and containers, all labeled with symbols she didn't recognize. An eerie silence enveloped them, as if the space was holding its breath. Where are we? Mia whispered, glancing back towards the door, still ajar and ominously flapping with each gust of wind. Some kind of storage area or a warehouse, Ethan replied, his brow furrowed. We can't stay here for long. They'll follow us. Mia swallowed hard, flipping through the options in her mind. There must be something we can use. It looks like they're hiding something. Her voice was barely above a whisper, the air thick with tension made her heart race even faster. She stepped forward, drawn towards an illuminated section where a strange contraption sat, its purpose unclear but the sight of it filled with foreboding intrigue. Mia reached out, her fingers brushing against the cool metal. What is this? Don't touch anything, we don't know what it could do. Ethan warned, but there was a spark in his eyes, too. Curiosity lured them both like moths to a flame. Suddenly, the door swung wide, and the pursuing shouts returned, louder and sharper. Panic gripped Mia's throat. They were cornered. We need to climb, she stated urgently, spotting a ladder leading up to an upper level stacked with more crates. Ethan hesitated. What if they see us? Mia wasn't sure whether they had a choice. We can't stay here. If they find us, she didn't finish the thought. They both knew the stakes too well. With a burst of shared resolve, they dashed for the ladder. Each rung felt like a heartbeat, faster, louder. They reached the top, eyes wide, scanning the area for any sign of safety. But instead, they stumbled upon something else entirely, a perimeter of large screens, each showing live feeds of different locations, faces, and names scrolling by. What is this? Ethan breathed, awe mixing with horror. Surveillance? Mia guessed, her heart racing as she caught glimpses of people she recognized. Friends, co-workers, each image emblazoned with details that could shatter lives. Are they tracking all of us? Ethan's voice trembled, anger bubbling beneath their shared fear. Suddenly, the loud crash of footsteps arose from below, their pursuers closing in, fear blending with disbelief in their eyes. We need to destroy this stuff, Ethan yelled, his hands balling into fists. We can't let this information get out. Mia shook her head. No, but we can't let them find us either. With time slipping through their fingers like sand, they needed a plan, and fast. The chilling reality settled in. It wasn't just their lives at stake anymore. They were caught in a web of secrecy that extended far beyond what either of them could fathom. Help me move this. Mia pointed to a nearby crate. If they could create a barricade, perhaps they could buy themselves enough time to figure out how to escape without a trace. As they hurried to shove the box in place, a voice boomed from below, cutting through the rushing blood in Mia's ears. You think you can hide forever? We know you're up there. Mia froze, her heart slamming in her chest. They know. And then the laughter returned, an unsettling melody accompanied by the sound of clinking metal as dark figures began to flood into the room below. Desperation clawed at her, tightening around her throat. What had they stumbled into, and how deep did the rabbit hole go? With nowhere left to turn, they had but one choice: face the truth, or be swallowed by the night that loomed around them. Are you ready for this? Ethan asked, a fire igniting in his eyes, but dread weaved into his voice. But before Mia could answer, a deafening crash rattled the room, the door splintering open. Shadows danced eagerly in the doorway, and her heart thundered as she braced for the worst. Were they about to confront the true nature of the trap they'd wandered into, or was this the end of their story before it ever had a chance to begin? The darkness burrowed into every corner of the room as if it were a living entity, suffocating and relentless. Mia's breath was shallow, her instincts screaming at her to flee. Ethan's eyes widened, and his body went rigid as shadows clawed at the edges of their sanctuary. They had nowhere left to run, no safe haven to find. The laughter grew louder, reverberating off the walls like an eerie drumbeat. Mia clenched her fists, adrenaline pumping through her veins as she peered over the edge of the crate they'd hastily positioned as a barrier. Through the flickering blue light, she caught sight of at least 3 dark figures. They moved with an unsettling grace, eyes scanning the upper level for any sign of life. We need to distract them, Ethan whispered, his voice barely audible over the cacophony below. His eyes darted to a small box across the room. If we can make enough noise, maybe they'll take the bait. Mia hesitated. And what if they come after us? We're not ready for that. But we can't stay here, he urged, urgency lighting his features. We have to try. The gravity of their situation settled over Mia like a lead weight. Her mind raced as she formulated a chaotic plan. Okay. On 3, she murmured, gauging Ethan's reaction. He nodded, determination replacing fear. 1, 2, 3. As the word left her lips, Mia hurled a small metal canister toward the far wall. It clanged loudly, ricocheting off the concrete and sending a shower of sparks into the air. Her heart raced wildly, terror and thrill colliding within her as the figures below turned toward the sound, their laughter fading abruptly into a tense silence. Ethan grabbed her arm, yanking her back. Now, while they're distracted. They clambered over the stack of crates, scrambling to the edge and peering down. The shadows had moved away, drawn to the noise like moths to a flame. In that fleeting moment, they spotted their way down a fire escape ladder that hung precariously against the wall. Freedom beckoned just a few heart-pounding feet away. Let us go. Ethan urged, urgency cracking through his voice. Step by step, with booted feet thudding against the steel rungs, they descended into the uncertainty below. The air was thick with the metallic scent of rust and sweat, an uncanny reminder of where they stood. Mia's heart raced, every instinct screaming for them to stay hidden. But the call of escape surged like a current, pulsing with promise and danger alike. As they reached the ground, a clang echoed through the silence, a door slamming above them. The shadows were on the move again, their presence a chilling reminder of how close danger actually lurked. Ethan grasped Mia's wrist tightly, pulling her into a narrow corridor that branched off from the warehouse. It felt like sliding into a dream, a nightmarish devouring darkness mixed with the glimmer of hope. They dashed past a line of heavy machinery, the walls closing in around them. Each step felt like a countdown, a race against time. The need to escape now consumed them. How had everything spiraled so out of control? Mia's thoughts swirled, caught in the fury of the moment and the gut-wrenching fear of what they could be running from. "Where are we going?" Mia gasped, her breath fogging the air. "Anywhere but here," Ethan replied, eyes wild and unyielding. "We need to find a way out of this place." But just as urgency grasped them, another echoing laugh shattered the silence, insidious and taunting. The figures had broken away from their chaos, sprinting toward the corridor, and panic clutched Mia's heart. They were hot on their trail. "Go, go!" she shouted, propelling them forward with a burst of adrenaline. Suddenly, the passage opened up into a wide room, rotting with the scent of mold and despair. Papers lay strewn across the floor, scattered like hopes dashed against stone. But Mia didn't pause, she pressed on, refusing to let fear hold her back. A flicker of light caught her eye, illuminating a large double door at the far end. It was slightly ajar, revealing a sliver of brightness that promised escape. "Almost there," she exclaimed, her legs pumping faster as they sprinted toward it. Then, a loud crash rang out behind them. "Simon!" Ethan yelled as he grabbed the door handle, yanking it open, but just before they could slip through, a shadow lunged forward, blocking their exit. Mia's heart sank as the figure stepped into the light, a twisted smile plastered across his face. "Thought you could run away?" Mia's world tilted, her mind racing. Who was he? How did he find them? The relentless melody of laughter rang in her ears as the door slowly creaked closer, tension building like a coiling snake ready to strike. What were they facing now, and would this finally reveal the truth behind the darkness that pursued them? Mia's breath hitched, panic gripping her throat. The twisted figure blocking their exit oozed menace, and the shadows around him flickered, dancing like they had a mind of their own. Ethan's grip tightened on her wrist as he searched for another escape route, but the room felt like it had closed in, suffocating them. "Who are you?" Mia managed to croak out, her heart pounding so loud she wondered if he could hear it too. "Just a friend, or perhaps your worst nightmare," he replied, his voice smooth as silk but laced with a chilling undertone. He took a slow step forward, eyes gleaming with delight at their fear. Mia's instincts screamed for her to run, but she was frozen in place, a rabbit caught in the gaze of a predator. Ethan moved slightly in front of her, an instinctive shield as the figure raised a hand, beckoning them closer, his fingers curling like he could snatch them in an instant. Mia could see everything more clearly now, the scars etching the man's gnarled hands, the way the shadows clung to him, feeding off his malice. "You have something I need," he said, tilting his head like a dog trying to understand a trick. Mia exchanged a frantic glance with Ethan. "What?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "What do you want from us?" His grin widened, revealing teeth that seemed too sharp for a human. "Oh, you'll come to understand soon enough. But first, let us play a little game, shall we? Just let us go." Ethan's voice rose, and instead of pleading, it was filled with defiance. That was Ethan. Even in the face of darkness, he stood tall. The man chuckled, and it sent a shiver down Mia's spine, drenching the air with unsettling tension. "You think you can just walk out of here? You're in my game now." Without warning, he lunged forward. Ethan shoved Mia aside, gaining a moment's lead, but the man was faster, his movements almost fluid like the shadows around him. Mia could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins as she stumbled back, desperate to find her own footing. She turned, instincts kicking in, scrambling for anything, a weapon, a tool, something. In the corner of the room, her eyes locked on a metal rod leaned against a wall, rusted but potentially deadly. She sprinted toward it, pivoting just as Ethan engaged the man. The clash was sudden and brutal. Ethan lunged, throwing punches with raw determination. "Mia! Get the rod!" he shouted, grunting with the effort. Mia grabbed the rod, her heart racing, adrenaline fueling her courage. "I'm coming." With a fierce grasp, she turned to see Ethan grappling with the man, who snickered like their struggles were mere entertainment. But with a fierce yell, Mia charged forward and swung the rod, catching the man off guard and connecting with his side. He stumbled back, a snarl escaping his lips, the laughter vanishing. It was intoxicating, this sudden surge of power, the chance to fight back against the darkness. "Now! Let us go!" Ethan yelled, pushing free and shoving Mia through the door. But just as they were about to flee, the man recovered, a furious glint in his eyes. "Oh, you'll regret that," he snarled, and the shadows seemed to grow thicker around him, swirling like a storm about to unleash. Mia tore out into the corridor, pulling Ethan along with her. They ran, fueled by fear and the knowledge that the darkness was now closing in tighter. "Where do we go?" Mia gasped, her feet pounding against the floor as adrenaline ignited her resolve. "We need to find the stairs," Ethan replied, urgency clawing at him. They veered left, the corridor twisting and turning, every instinct screaming for them to keep moving. But the echo of footsteps behind them grew louder, filled with rage and hunger. Suddenly, the corridor opened into a vast, cavernous space, boxes piled high like a maze of dread and uncertainty. "Mia, this way!" Ethan called, heading toward a stack of crates, but just as they ducked behind, Mia felt a cold breath on her neck. The man had found them again. Would they escape the hunter, or had they stepped deeper into the trap? Mia's mind raced, the shadows felt alive with anticipation, crawling toward them as he called out, "The fun is just beginning, my dear." What were the true depths of his sinister game? Mia's breath quickened, the walls of the narrow corridor seeming to pulse like her racing heart. "Ethan, we can't keep running forever," she gasped, casting sidelong glances as they maneuvered tight corners. The eerie glow of fluorescent lights flickered ominously, throwing shadows that danced around them like taunting specters, as if the building itself had turned on them. "We'll find a way out," Ethan reassured, but even he sounded uncertain, the weight of fear hanging heavily between them. Her mind replayed the last moments, the slip of the envelope, the CEOS meeting, and now this relentless chase. She felt trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake from. They made another turn, and then came to a halt. The clamor of footsteps echoed behind them, sounds of pursuit gaining intensity. Mia's heart raced as she scanned the area, adrenaline surging. "There." She pointed towards a heavy door marked exit at the end of a dim hallway. It was faintly illuminated, glimmers of hope shining like stars in a bleak sky. "Let us go," Ethan urged, practically pulling her as they sprinted towards their possible salvation. Each step felt monumental, like they were breaking through chains that had bound them for too long, but just as they reached the door, a shadow emerged from the darkness, blocking their path. It was him, the owner of the tormenting laughter, a ghoulish grin spreading across his face. He stood there like an unholy gatekeeper, eyes glinting with malice. "Did you really think you could escape?" Mia's throat tightened with fear, but the fire within her sparked. This was it. She was ready to fight back. "Let us through. You don't have to do this," she shouted, trembling but defiant. His laugh rang in her ears, cruel and mocking. "Oh, but you see, this is exactly what I wanted. It's a game, and you're the main attractions." He advanced, shadows swirling around him as he extended an arm. "No one leaves without playing." Ethan gripped Mia's arm, determination flashing in his eyes. "Mia, we need to act. Now." In a desperate move, Mia pulled the metal rod free from her back pocket where she had stashed it after their earlier encounter. She brandished it in front of her, heart pounding. Get back. The villain hesitated, briefly taken aback by her audacity. You dare threaten me? He sneered, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. With a fierce cry fueled by adrenaline, she lunged forward, swinging the rod with all her might. It connected with the figure's shoulder, startling him. Go, Ethan. Ethan seized the opportunity, rushing forward as Mia followed. They pushed through the door, bursting into the fresh air of the outside world, lungs filling with sweet freedom. They stumbled onto a parking lot, the sprawling city lights twinkling like they were lighting their path to salvation, but they couldn't stop now. Percussive footsteps, hot on their heels, thundered behind them, a chilling reminder they weren't free yet. They darted toward the nearest car, frantically searching for an escape. Look! Ethan pointed to a vehicle parked nearby, its keys glinting enticingly in the ignition. Get in. Mia shoved the door open, as Ethan hopped in the driver's seat, fumbling to find the right gear. The engine roared alive, and as they pulled out, she spared one anguished glance back. The shadows were still lingering, vicious and relentless, but they were finally leaving that nightmare behind them. Minutes turned into what felt like hours as Ethan drove, the adrenaline still coursing through their veins. Crowds of late-night wanderers balanced precariously with the neon lights, all oblivious to the horrors Mia had just endured. She hated that she felt a part of this world capable of something darker than she once believed. Mia, Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts. We need to talk. About what happens next. We can't go back. The envelope she started, but the realization hit hard. It's not just about that, is it? There's something bigger. They were tracking us for a reason. It's gotta be tied to the CEO's secrets. We need to expose this, Ethan said with conviction, determination flooding his tone. They can't silence us. Not anymore. Mia's heart raced as apprehension crept back in. But if we expose it, we endanger ourselves again? What if it's a trap? The fear clawed at her. Everything had spiraled so far out of control. Maybe, but it's a risk we have to take. He took a deep breath, gazing into her eyes. No more running. We show the world who they really are. Mia stared back, and in that moment, a silent agreement settled between them. They had each faced shadows, but they weren't alone anymore. Together they could shine light onto the darkness. As Ethan drove into the bustling city, Mia clutched the envelope tightly in her hands. The future was uncertain, but now she had a purpose. Whatever awaited them, they would tackle it together. We'll figure this out, she whispered, resolve blooming within her like a new sunrise, pushing back against the shadows of the past. The world had dealt them a wild card, and as they charged headfirst into the chaos, she realized this was just the beginning, but they were ready to face it, ready to fight, and ready to be heard. This was the moment they would take back their lives. Don't forget. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next wild journey. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button as hard as you can now to feed the algorithm, it really helps us out. We want to hear from you, so flood that comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Share this video hands down with at least 5 friends who need to see this explosive conclusion because you know they'll love it. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand what it means to support the channel through these actions.